welcome to today's panel with Leyline nonprofit presenting Gaming for Good. Thank you all so much for being here. Sorry about all of the technical difficulties, but I'm so excited that we are going to get started now. So, to start off, could you each tell us a little more about yourselves?
Hi, I guess I'll go first. My name is Yugina. I'm a business development manager at Leyline Nonprofit, and I'm supporting our gaming partnerships.
I guess I'll go next. Hi, my name is Crystal. I am the community manager at Leyline, and I'm super excited. Thank you for having me.
Hello, I'm Angelica. I'm also known as ABritoArt. I am the design and content specialist at Elgato, and I'm also a streamer. I've been streaming since 2016.
Awesome, and thank you all so much for being here again. Our first question is a little more for Yugina and Crystal. Could you tell us a little more about what Leyline Nonprofit is?
Crystal, do you want me to take this one?
Yeah, you could go first.
Yeah, so Leyline Nonprofit is a new org that launched just a couple months ago that focuses on making it really easy for gamers to do good in the world. So what we do is you go out and do something good in the real world. We'll give you Leyline points, which you can then use to redeem rewards, including gift cards, discount codes, and more on our platform at leyline.gg.
Yeah, that
Awesome.
sums it
And
up very well. I don't.
okay. And what made you guys want to join Leyline?
Well, for me, it was just the vision behind what could be a possibility. Getting it incentivizes doing good, and I don't think a lot of other platforms do that. And the goal of Leyline is the long-term goal of Leyline is to abolish poverty, I think, and that really spoke out to me.
I was maybe a little bit more selfish where I wanted to marry a lot of things that I really liked, which included doing charity work and nonprofit work, my love of gaming, and wanting to explore something new in my career. I had business development before, and the opportunity came around to do all three of those things, which made it a really easy decision to join the team.
That's really awesome. And what has Leyline been up to since it launched? What have you guys been doing?
Well, we deploy new features every day. We're currently in a closed alpha for friends and family. We did open up our waitlist, so anyone is welcome to sign up for the waitlist. And we've been whitelisting users who have been interested in being alpha testers or helping us get feedback on the platform. But yeah, we've just been launching new features every day, including our daily wellness check-ins, our new partnership integrations, and testing out some arcade features.
That's amazing. It's quite a feat to be able to launch something on the daily, especially in this kind of time. To switch gears a little bit, we're seeing that streamers and brands are partnering to host charity campaigns to support causes that are important to them. Abrito, can you share some examples of streamers and companies collaborating on different activations?
Yeah, so especially in 2020, there was like a really big new community of streamers, like existing streamers, new streamers, taking advantage of their, presence in, their platforms to raise money for charity and to raise money and awareness for various causes. I think one of the really cool ones from last year was Matt Pat from Game Theory. He rose over $3 million for St. Jude Play Live, and he worked with really cool sponsors like State Farm, Elgato, Stadia, and a couple others. And the really cool thing about that is they really brought it into the stream. So, like when you have, State Farm, they brought Jake from State Farm on the stream. There's just a lot of really cool ways like that that streamers are integrating charities and brands into their charity streams. Tiltify themselves, if you've ever seen a charity stream, you've probably heard of Tiltify. It's like a really big platform that people use to directly raise money for charities. They did a whole thing where they got a bunch of streamers that were already really known for raising money for charity, and they gave them the money and platform to donate some more money to other streamers and smaller like people raising money for charities. So that's another really cool way that a brand has worked with charities and streamers that are raising money for charity. You also see things like AOC and Ilhan, getting people to register to vote, and then the way that they rose over $200,000 playing Among Us. And I just think it's really cool the way that brands and streamers, the way that they can work together for charity, because sometimes the charities themselves will organize with the brands, and sometimes streamers themselves will organize with the brands. So those are just some examples, and some charity stream examples as well.
Yeah, it's really amazing to see everything kind of grow, and people are starting to try to use gaming for, as the topic of this is, gaming for good. Yugina, similar to what Abrito mentioned, what are some ways that students can also support causes that are important to them?
Yeah, I mean, one is to get involved on campus. We see a lot of students participating in different student activities, events, joining or forming different clubs and organizations, or encouraging the orgs that they're already a part of and doing something more for their communities. You know, it's fairly normal to see sororities or fraternities support a specific charity that's close to their cause. And we're also seeing that more and more gaming clubs are also hosting extra live streams or Tiltify campaigns to fundraise for things that are important to them, and or partnering with different portions of their campus to advocate for different causes. So we're seeing more and more students are, you know, joining the pledge with any key to be a good gamer. And a lot of, you know, you can either contribute on the individual level as an individual wanting to do more for yourself, or as a community and encouraging other people to get involved.
Amazing. And to kind of follow up on that, what are some ways, both for Eugenia and Abrito, how would you recommend that streamers or students kind of get started on this? Do you have any advice for those people?
For me, I think the biggest thing is that just getting started is the hard part, and any amount counts. The nonprofits that we've worked with, both at Leyline and at my previous company, they always talk about how it's not just the fundraising that's the really hard part, it's the marketing and the messaging. How do they make it clear to people that there is a dire need of, that they are in dire need of support? So just building awareness or making your social network aware that there is a cause that needs support can be just as impactful as donating $1. So don't be shy and go ahead and just get started.
My
Yeah,
advice would be that you know, you really shouldn't underestimate the power of your platform. Even if you don't have that many viewers, you'll be really surprised how supportive the community of people that, you know, may be raising money for charity for the first time or have been raising money for years. Like, the community is really supportive of each other, and I think it's a really good opportunity to use your platform for something that you believe in. And ultimately, it'll strengthen your community in general, because being able to do something so positive like that is just a really great thing for everyone involved.
yeah, I agree. And that even especially in this day and age with social media being such a huge thing, just having that voice be amplified and sharing awareness can often mean so much more than donating $1. And that's one way that I think a lot of students and streamers can help contribute. To kind of talk a little bit more about communities, Crystal, Abrito, both of you stream on your own time. How has the COVID-19 pandemic impacted your communities?
Um, I actually started streaming once COVID started, so it one of the reasons I started streaming was because I was taking a gaming class where it required a PC, and I would go to a PC cafe to do my homework and play games for homework. But COVID lockdown was happening, and I was worried that I wouldn't be able to do my homework. So I got a PC at home, and once COVID started, I I felt kind of the need for connection with other people. Um, and I started streaming, and it's really done wonders for me. Just during quarantine for your mental health. And I think cultivating a community, a like minded community, just makes you feel less lonely in the world, and it's supportive. Yeah.
So for me, I think that it has affected it quite a bit. I think the positives outweigh the negatives for sure. I can speak specifically about charity streaming again with this, because every single May I raise money for St. Jude Play Live. It's something I've done since the first year I started streaming in 2016. I did the winter one then, and then kept doing the May ones ever since. My goals since the beginning has been to double every single year, and my goal in 2019 in May, couple months or weeks into the pandemic, was $5,000, which was twice as much as the year before, which is 2,500. And it was just, the support was absolutely amazing. I think being in the situation that we're in, people realize when, they have some money that they can spare, they have time that they can spare to support the stream, to share it with others who can, donate to such an amazing cause. And I think it's really telling as to how people spend their time when they choose to support somebody that is supporting an even greater cause. And I think that's just a really, really positive thing that happened specifically with my stream with the whole pandemic, is that people are really receptive to charity streams and more aware of what the impact could be.
That's
That's
amazing.
amazing to see. Yeah. And especially because we know that a lot of people have started streaming a lot more to kind of help fix that sort of loneliness that we all feel from being socially distanced during the pandemic. It's really great to see how we can also use that for good and how
Mm.
people can be both streaming to help their own loneliness, but also to be helping charity or the greater good. As more communities are moving online nowadays, given that the pandemic has stretched on for, I think, about a year now, depending on where you are. Um, wow. How can student leaders who run gaming clubs use this as an opportunity to further build their communities?
Yeah, I think, if you had asked me a couple years ago how colleges were working with student gamers, I would have said they're barely working with student gamers or giving them the bare minimum. But the COVID-19 crisis has allowed student gaming populations to really blossom and bloom. We're seeing that student leaders are being provided with a ton of logistical, operational, and even sometimes budgetary support from their universities to host and craft gaming experiences. And I think that this is something that student leaders should be capitalizing on. I've seen student org activity offices actually end up funding Minecraft servers for their students on campus. There was a ton of buzz and press about how graduations are moving onto Roblox and Minecraft. There are a lot of ways that you can engage and create content in partnership with your schools to both create a thriving student activities community on campus while also engaging with the gamer specific portion of your community. I would say just start talking to your school and seeing what's possible. I'm sure that they're going to be much more receptive now that social distancing is a huge problem, and more and more students are leaving school and taking a gap year. I think a lot of schools are looking for things to support.
Mm.
Completely agree. Especially, we've seen that esports has had a huge uptick in the pandemic because not a lot of real sports, physical sports can be played right now. So it's really nice to see how administration has been providing more support to their communities. We're seeing that not only in North America, but also around the globe with the Ekaterina scholarship being happening in the Philippines as well. So it's really amazing to see that worldwide, more student clubs are being supported. There has also been a huge conversation around inclusivity. So, what can student leaders do to make sure that their communities are welcoming, and how can you limit gatekeeping, which is a common problem that a lot of new aspiring players or gamers face?
From a student leader perspective, I always recommend that your clubs have a charter, which very explicitly lists all the behaviors that are inappropriate and the sanctions you'll take against both, the executive board members of your club as well as general members. Listing out, hey, if you harass someone in game, you will, receive your first sanction. At 3 sanctions, you're kicked out of the club. No more allowed to participate in live events that are happening. Whatever punishment you guys think is appropriate, I would recommend that you start putting it down on paper and holding yourself accountable to it. But in terms of making sure that communities are welcoming, I think both Abrito and Crystal have built their own communities and may have a better answer for that portion.
For me, I think whether you're a student leader or not, I think just being receptive and approaching every person who comes to your community, even if they're new, with a kind and open heart, I think, um, is a good place to start. For me, that's what it was because there's a lot of different people in the world, and just because you guys disagree on one aspect of, let's say, a game or something like that, you don't want to shun them out. Do you have any other adding points, Abrita?
Yeah, so I can't speak to a student leader, but I can speak to running a community and having been streaming for since a couple years. I think it's really important to keep an eye out for anybody who may be from a marginalized community. It really takes an intentional effort to ensure that they're really comfortable in the space that they're in, and sometimes things that might be comfortable for you might not be comfortable for them. So just being active and making like a conscious effort to ensure that you're like able to share the idea, that you're supportive of them, giving them a platform when they need a platform, giving them space to speak. I think something that happened pretty recently was there was a group of people playing a game together, and one of them felt that they were unable to speak and they kept getting talked over. And that became a really, really hot topic for a second, where sometimes females playing games like Among Us might not have the opportunity to participate in the game, and it ruins the fun for them, which is something that other people might not even realize that they were talking over, because they might have had a louder voice and just didn't even notice. So it's really taking that conscious effort, taking the extra step to make sure that everybody that you're either playing games with or streaming for is comfortable, and that being able, if you are not from a marginalized community, or if you have the strength to stand up for anybody who might be feeling uncomfortable and unable to speak for themselves.
That's great.
Yeah, I completely agree. Especially the example that you brought up, which was really good. With Among Us, I've talked to several of my friends who are female streamers who felt like they were always talked over in Among Us, which is a very talking and discussion based game. And we brought it up with some of our male friends who hadn't even thought of that. They just thought, the person who talks loudest is the person most easily believed. And most of the time, they're the ones who have the more tendency to shout. And I realized that once we kind of all were conscious of that and we all gave each person an opportunity to speak, the game was not only more fun to play, but it was more fun for everybody to feel included, and nobody was getting upset over that.
Yeah.
And to bring it, yeah.
That's interesting
Like,
because the
continue?
same thing happened.
Mhm.
When
Yeah.
we were playing Among Us, and people just started talking all over each other, and it really, I think what you say about intentionally coming in with knowledge of, oh, maybe that is something that happens, then it's easier to catch when either you try to do it accidentally or someone else does it. So keeping an open eye out and being intentional with your actions, I love that part.
Yeah, and it's easy to, go towards the argument, especially when you're not part of those communities that happens to very often, is just like, oh, why didn't you speak up? Like sometimes people either are more shy and they just don't want to, or it happens to them so often that they're so used to it that they don't even realize that there is a better option for them. So sometimes just speaking to them directly, DMing them, being like, hey, you need some extra support here, I got you, can go a really long way to making somebody feel more comfortable.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that luckily a lot of communities are trying to be more conscious of nowadays, which has honestly been really cool to see. And it makes it so that, we are welcoming in new players while also retaining the ones that we have already by kind of making the overall community even better. And to bring it back to more of today's topic on the subject of, better communities, do you guys have any personal examples of the gaming community doing good?
I mean, just to echo off of what Abrito mentioned, I was actually on the other side of that, where I still am the really shy person. And I remember the first gaming club meeting I went to, I literally sat in the back of the room and couldn't, make a sound. And everybody was playing games. They were all doing in houses, and I couldn't even, get myself to join the team. until somebody literally says, hey, she's got League open, invite her into the game, it says she's diamond. And I was like, oh God, who is talking? And I ended up, joining the in-house. I ended up joining the League of Legends team, and I was her team jungler. And then I eventually ended up marrying that man that advocated for me in that
Aw.
meeting.
Aw.
So just like being that shy person and knowing that having somebody speak up for you, especially, somebody who's is
Mm.
not in a position of being, marginalized in that community, to use their voice to speak up for you, it was a really positive experience for me. I ended up being close friends with everyone in the gaming clubs, and I'm sure that many students feel the same way, that the friends you meet in college are truly the ones you keep forever. But even, going a little bit beyond that, when I lost my mom, my gaming friends were the first ones to call me, to text me, and they didn't do anything like, I'm sorry you're having a really hard time. They would really just say things like, hey, let's go play blank, or I'm going to do ARAMs right now, get on, just making sure that I was being surrounded by people. And if I wanted to talk about something, there was a voice. So personally, I've been on the receiving end of a lot of really good from the gaming community. And I hope a lot of people have also had positive experiences.
Oh, that was so sweet.
Yeah. Crystal, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. The question was, do I have any personal examples of the gaming community doing good?
Yep.
Well, kind of going off what Eugenia said, for one, this was kind of the first time where I was part of a gaming community at all, because I was never really a gamer to begin with. But just the fact that virtually you could build a community and it still feels so real kind of shocked me. I didn't realize how close knit these communities can get. And more than just building a community, I personally feel like from my community, in the short couple, like 6 months I've been building it, I've met so many good friends that I feel like are real friends. So that's a good example, a personal example of mine.
To speak specifically about like the streaming community, a personal like thing that happened to me is that last year during the 2020 St. Jude Play Live season, when I was trying to hit that $5,000 goal, I had a stream where I was playing Just Dance nonstop until I hit $2,000. So it, I was dancing for over 10 hours, and we did not hit the goal that day. So I tweeted at the end, I was like, we didn't hit the goal, but we raised a lot of money today. Thank you guys so much. And then a streamer that I have known for basically since I started streaming, responded, and she's like, oh, look, you're a little closer now. Put a screenshot. She had donated like $200, which was so generous. And then she retweeted it, and then somebody else saw her reply, and they're like, oh, look, you're a little bit closer now. Oh, look, another 50. And it was just like, and this is like a collection of like, people that are following all these accounts, but a bunch of like streamers that you would recognize their name. These are like some big streamers that started catching on to this, and then I eventually got to 2000 and I cried, and I was offline, and they were doing all of this just because they saw all of the hard work that I had put in that day, and that I didn't hit that goal, and I was a little bit bummed out about it, and they got me to it. And that stands out so much to me, because I think it's an example of one person like just doing something. She didn't ask anybody else to do it. She just did it, and then she shared the tweet, and then that one thing kind of just snowballed, and then before we knew it, I had passed that goal. So it's just a really special thing, and I will remember that forever.
And if you don't mind me, just gamers are, I mean, this is the whole mission of Leyline. Leyline inherently believes that people are good, that if you make it a little bit easier for them to be a little bit better today than they were yesterday, that they will take those opportunities. And, some people might say that they're doing all of this good for clout because they posted it on social media, but whatever, they did good at the end of the day. And that's the important thing. And I just want to highlight that there are a lot of games that are charity games or use gamification principles similar to the Twitter hype trains or, Twitch hype trains to encourage people to do good. Free Rice is a campaign that's hosted by the United Nations every year, where you learn vocab words and they give you 10 grains, or they donate 10 grains of rice on your behalf. There are also games that teach you things about mental health or start conversations about it, like A Bird Sky, which is on Steam. You know, games and people and gamers are just like inherently really good people and things. The world is so good.
Love conquers all.
I'm just so
But
touched by that story.
I know both of your guys' stories really just touched me right now. I'm about to cry.
Yeah, Eugenia, I really got goosebumps because I've absolutely been in that situation before, some of which nobody was there, and then others where people were there and they're still like a really big part of my life. So like I got goosebumps. That's a really, really beautiful story.
It was my first gaming club meeting, and I ended up becoming president of that gaming club. I had such a great experience that I ended up helping create student programs that enable other gamers who are also hosting
Oh.
collegiate gaming events. I feel like if he had not encouraged me to play with those group of friends, I probably wouldn't have come back to the club meeting. And I wouldn't have met a lot of the people that I've met today. I probably wouldn't be here today. I'd probably be a marine biologist out on a boat in the middle of the ocean as far away from people as possible. So I truly believe that gaming communities can be so, 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 so powerful.
I'm gonna cry. Oh my god. Yeah. I think that people being inclusive, it's those like even small gestures that they don't even think about that kind of really make a difference or can make a difference in somebody's life. Things like that have kind of sprouted up, not just during COVID, but like the Healthy Gamer GG community as well. I know that they've been doing a lot more to try to help their community grow and try to make sure that everybody is like mentally and physically well. They have like habit tracking and like holding each other accountable and all those things, and it's so amazing to see. Not only that, but also like the talks that they have with really popular big name streamers, just kind of highlighting that we're all human, we're all trying to do better, and we're all kind of here. And last but not least, any final pieces of advice for students looking to build their community before we open it up to some Q&A from our students and viewers?
I
It could be
think
anything.
sorry, what was that?
It could be anything.
Oh, I said I think consistency is a big one. If someone's trying to build their community, I'm saying this while I take month-long breaks from streaming, but you can, from experience, it really stalls your growth. And just being interactive within your community, not just when you're streaming, but with a Discord and creating true bonds with everyone that you meet if you guys click, I think is a good way I personally grew my community. And I think it will work for other people too.
To build off of that, I think something that I had a realization with, because I used to be really of the mindset that like consistency is, for streaming, like that's the number one, and that was consistency with time and dates. And then what I kind of realized in 2018 when I was graduating high school, and I was like, there's just so much that I'm doing right now. I can't stream. What I realized is that what was benefiting me was not necessarily consistency with time and dates. It was consistency with effort and like value of what you're providing. So it's what I mean is that like for me right now, I'm working a full-time job and I'm also in college. So it's quite a bit that I'm doing in my life. So I don't stream that often, but every single time that I stream, I bring my all. Like if I'm streaming that day, you can click the stream and you just know that I am bringing it, and I'm gonna make myself laugh. Whether that makes you laugh or not, that's a different story. But I'm going to bring everything that I can to the table, and I'm gonna play really fun games. And like the consistency for me is worked for me, it's different for everybody, but what's worked for me for building my community is not consistency with time and dates. And they know that because there's none of that from me anymore. That's 2017. Woof, we're past that. Not consistency with games. I play anything. I do art. I do crossword puzzles. I play horror games. I play whatever, right? It's consistency with what I can bring to the table, which is just I'm going to bring my energy. I'm going to bring my personality. I'm going to remember, little fun inside jokes we all have, and I'm going to do my
Yeah.
best.
And I'm not really a streamer. I mean, I've streamed once or
Yes,
twice,
you
but
are.
I'm not really.
Yeah, you are, Yugina.
But I've helped a lot of students build their gaming communities on campus. And so for me, very similar to how Crystal's like, you should have a consistent schedule, which definitely helps, right? Like show up to the club meeting Saturday, 5 o'clock. And then you should also have consistency in the energy and quality of your things that you're bringing to the table, whether that's a quality of an event or a broadcast. There's also commitment to a brand entity. So being consistent with who you are and what you want to showcase to other people. So, having a mission statement, and every single time you stream, if you're a positivity streamer, that doesn't mean you have to be happy all the time, but it means that in general, you should talk about positive things, the great things that people are doing in the world instead of focusing on the negative, so that the moments you talk about the negative have a bigger impact, right? That that's an important thing. So having a consistent brand quality or mission statement that carries through all of your content, I think can be really powerful because people will then know what they're looking for and why they're there.
And then with that, as far as building like more inclusive communities, I think it's now for building a community, less being a part yourself of that community, is that when you're building a community, you really have to have a goal in mind for yourself and a goal in mind for your community. You have to realize like what you're willing to allow in that community, which has been a really, really hot topic now, with a lot of big movements, Me Too, BLM, is that are you willing to speak up about that if you believe in it? Uh, as you should, but it's just me. Um, are you willing to speak up about that and risk losing some viewers that don't agree with you, or they don't like the fact that you're talking about that, talking about human rights movement? And they don't like it, they don't want to watch your stream? Are you willing to lose that, to make anybody who might be from those marginalized communities feel safer, to feel like that they can see that you're willing to speak up about something that affects them personally, even though you might be risking some numbers? So I think it's really important to not let numbers get in the way of that, to let your values really shine there, and to be willing to talk about what you have to talk about with your platform to grow your community, to be a healthy and respectful and just wonderful community all around.
And we've seen a lot of brands get a ton of flack for not saying something fast enough or saying a very generic thing. So if you are going to say something, make sure that there is some content and some meat behind it, that you're not just parroting what everyone else is saying, but that you have something to contribute to the table.
And I think communities can pick out the fake apples really easily. So just be genuine. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for your advice. We're moving on to our Q&A part of this. So if anybody watching has any questions, feel free to send them into the Twitch chat or into the ICGN Discord at discord.io/ICGN. But first of all, we have a question from Jerry, who asks, if we have friends who have a community already, do you think it's a good idea to ask them to help you start, or should you try to do it on your own?
I think it's a kind of a situation where a lot of people are really defensive, which is completely valid, because they don't want to feel used. So I think if you go ahead and ask somebody, like they're gonna be like, oh, like did you only meet me because I might have been a streamer for a couple years and you also want to be a streamer, so that's the only reason you're interested in me. I think more so just like doing what you do, like doing it to the best of your ability, and then if they would like to, they can. I just personally, like, I've had people reach out to me and like for they DM me for advice, which is fine, and I'll message, and then they'll be like, "Oh, can you share my stream?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll do what I can," but like, maybe your stream isn't something that would necessarily like vibe with my community. Like it really feels like forced. And then it's not something that they're genuinely doing. I think trying to, just do your best. And if you get that, genuine support from somebody, that's awesome. And what I found has really affected me a lot as a streamer, which is something that I do just because I like doing it, which is supporting streamers. I like to, retweet when they're doing something awesome. I like to be in their stream hyping them up if they're doing something really cool, like if they have a cool partnership or whatever that they just got, hyping them up. Um, you know, it's not that you're doing it to get it back, but I have found that I get it back very often. So just make intentionally, go out and support people, and if anything comes back to you, it does. If it doesn't, you supported people, and that should be more than enough to make you happy.
I I I think of Eugene as your network is your net worth. I don't know. That came into mind when I saw this question. But I think it's a form of networking, but if you don't have a strong foundation of your own community or your own stream, and if you're just starting off and you haven't streamed ever before and you, let's say, know a streamer who's big, yeah, they might shout you out a couple of times and help you get started, but I'm not really sure if that can maintain the growth of your community. I think it really matters how much you also pour into your actions. But if you have close friends who know more about it, I don't think getting their help is necessarily a bad thing.
I completely agree with what both of them have said so far, but to add something new to the table, um, personally, I'm a big fan of collaboration and gassing my friends up. So if you know that you're in an inclusive community that loves to shout each other out, or to, hey, I'm done streaming, let me just raid you afterwards, I think that that's a great place to ask for help. But the reality is that if your content's not good, even if you have a bunch of followers, no one will tune in or they'll unfollow. So I would recommend that you start on your own, similar to Crystal. Just start building your content so that you can figure out what your voice is, figure out what type of content you want to create, and what your little circle will look like. And then that way, when you want to collaborate with your friend, you can have very specific instances of where you want to work together. Hey, I really need help figuring out how to get better at this game. Can you coach me on my stream? Or hey, I'm playing this party game. I was wondering if you wanted to be the other team captain. Or hey, I'm finding myself plateauing at this number of viewers. Do you think you could host me sometime after you're done streaming? Could we coordinate when you're not streaming? Things like that. Once you have a base set, I think it's easier to make specific asks. But I would never cash in all of your friend points for it. Be authentic, be true to yourself, and don't just do it for the clout or hoping that your friend will give them your whole network to you. You have to kind of earn it yourself as well.
I find that like something a common saying that I've heard a lot is that, you know, you're you can ask somebody to help pull you up a little bit, but in the end it's up to you to climb the rope, metaphorically, if that makes sense. Yeah, which can apply to this as well. Our next question here is from Zenith, who asks, have you encountered any interesting plugins or accessibility features used by content creators to help further inclusivity or further improve inclusivity for their audiences?
I would love to tackle the first portion of this question. I've been really lucky to work with Snuggy Bun, who is a streamer on Twitch. You guys are all welcome to check her out. But she is focused specifically on the hard of hearing community. And so she has made accessible to everyone a number of resources on adding closed captioning to your streams and VODs at the end of channels, making sure that she personally knows ASL and I think a few different dialects to communicate with hard of hearing viewers. But the closed captioning system is actually very easy to integrate into your broadcasting software. And she recommends that all streamers have it because it requires no work on your end. but can encourage a lot of people to engage with your content, which similar to what Abrito's already said before, that little bit of effort can make a huge difference in making people feel included and seen. So just big shout out to Snuggy Bun. She's been a great partner to me in the past and at Leyline. She's also been previous Gaming for Good community contents with us.
What's her Twitch? So we
Snuggy
can
Bun,
plug it.
SNUGIBUN.
All right.
Do we know the name of the plugin? I'm
It's all
interested.
on her channel. I'm happy to send anyone the resources after, and I will also place it in the ICGN Discord in the general chat for anyone who's already in there as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, and with closed captions, something that's like really, it's something I've been researching a lot. Like within the past 2-3 months, it's been like a thing that I'm really focused on at the moment. With alt text, like the way to properly do alt text, the way to properly do captions. Something really interesting is that not only are you reaching those normally not included communities, you're also reaching just anybody at that point. A lot of users on Twitter, for example, if you're posting a clip from your stream, a lot of users on Twitter don't actually listen to sound on video. I think one of the really big things that has been, brought about recently into, more advocating for captions on top of all of the really awesome reasons why you should be doing captions is the statistic from TikTok, which I can't give you off the top of my head. I know it's over, if not around 50% of users on TikTok do not listen with sound. Or at least when the videos are reposted somewhere, they end up not listening to it with sound. So you're not only reaching a community that's amazing to reach and that will really, really appreciate it and will not feel like they're being excluded. You're also reaching a broader audience as well. So yeah, the benefits are just endless at that point.
And this is not necessarily an accessibility feature, but I've also seen the conversation around mental health being much more prolific in the streaming space. So Leyline's also been really pleased to work with Mxiety, Mxiety, who is a streamer that focuses exclusively on mental health advocacy work. And specifically the recognition that streamers are not therapists. They're not here to help you. They're here to, build the community in a happy place or whatever content type that they're building. But instead linking all of their viewers to resources, including, the suicide hotline or specific pieces of language that can help people navigate the feelings that they have. Huge conversation on mental health that I think will further create an inclusive space for people who are maybe struggling and need a safe place to go.
Yeah, and to add on to that, one of our other partners, Geek Therapeutics, they actually have a bot that you can install into your Twitch your chat directly that helps with mental health. Because, like Eugenia said, streamers aren't therapists and we're not trained to be. So having something with more information or a bot integrated in with more information that can really help out those people in need is a good plugin that I know of. McDonald's.
Are
I'm
those the
so
famous
sorry.
chicken nuggets we heard about?
I'm jealous.
The same husband I mentioned earlier. So sweet of him. Brought me some
Yes.
not sponsored, just a big fan. He's great. He's really great. Highly recommend that students join gaming communities on campus because the people you meet are honestly amazing.
That's cool. We've got one more question here from Jerry. When starting out with a community, what forms of content do you believe are the most important / easiest to grow with? Jerry, if you want to elaborate on that in chat, feel free to do so.
I think I understand the base portion of his question. And honestly, I'm going to say just make what you want to see. Because I'm not a streamer, but I've streamed a couple times. And I've noticed that when I play the games that I'm really, really good at and I'm really, really try harding, I'm not having a good time. And I get like 3 viewers, and it's my husband and my best friend and myself gassing myself up in the chat. Um, but when I do something that's fun for me, which is typically just goofing around in Animal Crossing or, an RPG, I find that, I'll have a ton of people chatting because you like to be around people who are having fun. So now I will off stream play all my competitive games and things that are a bit more casual or, allow people to have a conversation. I will go ahead and stream that. And similar to gaming clubs, where you should create the events that ideally you would want to participate in, tournament formats that you would want to compete in, or places where you would want to go to meet friends or show your friends.
Mhm.
Do what you want to do and have fun with it and let them come to you.
I resonate so much with that. I think in the beginning, everyone kind of, I mean, I did speak about consistency, but I love how Arito clarified the consistency part because the last thing you want to do is play all these games that you think other people are gonna enjoy watching you play and then not have a fun time playing it because people, even if it's virtual, they can read off your vibe, and if they don't see that you're having fun, then they're not going to be having fun either. So I know that even some of my friends who stream, they're like, I really enjoy playing this game, but my view count is always low when I play this game. But like Eugenia said, I think you just have to stick it through, and if you're having fun, someone will definitely come by, and it's just a matter of time. But yeah.
Yeah, I see you like added a little clarification for your question, which is it's rather hard to find a niche immediately. So how do you recommend starting streams to help find a niche? So something pretty fun about when I started streaming was that I was drawing, I was doing a lot of art, digital art, traditional art, and then I was also playing horror games. At that time, I would say the Twitch creative community was at its peak. If you were here on Twitch back then, when Twitch creative was a thing, it was a beautiful thing that Twitch has since stripped away from us. But I was able to just find a couple other people who were either also just starting off or like around the same area as me and just really connect with them. And then I learned so much about the space just by talking to them about, like they would tell me about like some streamers that have been in the field that have been in the space for a long time. Some of like the staff members of various companies that are really supportive of creative streamers. So I think as far as finding your niche, I think people on Twitch define niches differently. I define my niche as just a group of like-minded people who are interested in similar things, and if they're not interested in similar things, they're interested in similar people. So I would say just start looking out for the content that you enjoy. Look for streams that regular any content, be it stream content converted to Twitter content or TikTok content that you enjoy. And you don't have to replicate it, but just note those things that you enjoy and try to think about how that can match you and what you can let from yourself shine. So, for example, when I started, there was a lot of pressure to talk all the time and whatnot, and I'm pretty good at that. But one thing that I struggled with was like memory, like remembering people's names and stuff like that, which is like the big tip. They're like, remember people when they come back, obviously, makes people feel special as, they should feel. So I made it like a fun game. So like find your niche by finding what you enjoy from other people. Like I enjoyed when people would remember my name and seeing how you can make it work for you. So
And I do want to mention that similar to love languages, you don't necessarily receive and consume content in the same way that you would produce or create it. So, like, I personally love to watch StarCraft 2 streams, but I absolutely hate playing the game now. I love to play Stardew Valley on stream and give gifts that people hate to all the villagers, but I hate watching Stardew Valley streams. So, in the same vein, finding what works for you in that niche is not always the game itself, but the little mini games you can create. So, for me, if you subscribe to my channel, you get a free fun fact of a fish of your choice. Because I have a marine biology major. That's fun for me. That's my shtick. But it doesn't necessarily have to be a game itself that is your niche.
Yeah, I
Unless
think
you want it to be.
yeah, I totally agree with that. And just building a community that you would also want to be a part of, right? So if you look at your community and you're like, I don't think I would ever be a part of this community. If it wasn't mine, then I think it'll I think it's better to grow a community where you would want to be a part of it because you're going to be excited to be there and that's also going to shine through.
I agree. It's just like play, or I guess do what makes you happy. And yeah, eventually you will find success that way. Unfortunately, we do have to end it off here. As we are hitting 6:30. And we did have to start late. But thank you all so much for being here. And it was really great to get to talk about, how to use gaming for good and how we are using gaming as a way to kind of branch out into charities to improve the world overall. And it's really cool to see. Do you guys have anything you want to say to close us off?
Please make sure to join our waitlist at leyline.gg and join our Discord community. We are growing. We're currently in closed alpha, and we are excited to build out new content and ways for gamers to do good in the world.
Yay, leyline.gg.
Mhm. And we have a command for that in chat. If you exclamation mark Leyline, you will be able to find out more about all of that. But once again, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you all for your time and for the wisdom and your answers. And yeah,
Oh, and
have a
please
good rest
follow ABritoArt on all the different social media channels, including twitch.tv.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you all so much. Have a good night.
Good night.